From the land of melting lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Twin Cities sports scene. And Wally, we're on TV again, another edition of 10K Takes Television.
Yes.
And we joke about it every week, but in this market, there's never any downtime when it comes to sports. And right now, we are overflowing with topics and a lot of positivity as well.
Yeah, and they're relevant topics.
Yes.
It's not just the Timberwolves playing out the string or the Wild, wondering whether they're going to make it into the postseason. I think that the Wild are going to be in the postseason. I think it's either second or third in the division. The Timberwolves are in the play-in, and of course the Twins are off and running, and they finally got a win over the weekend. Maybe we just start with the Twins since that seems to be topic one right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to begin. First and foremost, it's great to be back at Trendy Target Field. I know you were there Friday. We were both there Sunday. There's something magical about the ballpark. And then you look at that win yesterday where, the Bomba Blitz was on. The Twins slugged 6 home runs. They also played some pretty good defense early in the game with the Alex Kirilloff to Carlos Correa to Gary Sanchez relay that denied Seattle an early run. But, it was just an explosion yesterday. Right. Byron Buxton hit a pair. Gary Sanchez, the grand salami, Carlos Correa, first ever Twins home run, on and on it went. So they got a win that, not going to say they had to have it, it's only game 3, but they wanted it.
Yeah, for sure. And, so they scored 10 runs. Yeah. I believe all 10 runs came via the home run, didn't they? I think that they did because the grand slam is 4 of them, and then they hit 5 other home runs. That's 9, and one of them was a 2. They got all 10 runs via home run. So that's going to have to change eventually because you can't be swinging for the fences every time you bet. But that's 2022 baseball, walk, strikeout, or home run, and the Twins are playing that brand of baseball right now. But the other thing, of course, is if you're going to win long-term, you still have to pitch. Now, the game was 6-0, and then Seattle came back. They got a 3-run homer from Mitch Haniger, and all of a sudden it's a 6-4 game. And you and I were talking about, say, wait a minute, this thing isn't over yet. But the Twins were able to add on, which was important because I think that Bailey Ober, who threw the ball okay, he made the mistake to Haniger, but I thought he threw the ball all right. He needed that support because you give up another run or two, and all of a sudden 6-5, 6-6, and then who knows? We saw how the bullpen exploded on Saturday. They had the lead going into the ninth. Mm-hmm. Thanks again to Byron Buxton with the 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th. And then, they didn't have a closer to come in and close it out. Taylor Rogers is in a San Diego Padres uniform, rumor has it.
Yeah, he's gone. I'm sure that the brain trust of Derek Falvey and Thad Levine, the guys upstairs, are scouring the waiver wires and looking at other rosters. They know this team needs more pitching. And in real estate, location, location, location. That's the key. Baseball, it's pitching, pitching, pitching. So maybe they add more arms. Who knows? I don't think they're necessarily done yet with trying to put this ball club together. But I will say this, and I feel like Twins territory is cautiously optimistic about the ball club. They haven't totally bought in, but tickets are cheap now, especially on the secondary market. If you want to go out just to see Byron Buxton, I think he's worth it. I mean, this guy is magical in center field, and we saw him turn on 2 balls yesterday in the multi-home run game. As you said, he hit one Saturday. He's just electric. And then you got Carlos Correa. What a 1-2 punch. Buxton leading off, Correa following. I don't know if anybody in MLB can top that.
Well, and as you said, tickets are affordable on the secondary market, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of empty seats there over the weekend. I don't think that folks have quite bought in yet. Yeah, is it great to be back at the ballpark? Of course it is. You and I love going there, and especially now that they have Correa in that lineup. I mean, he's worth the price of admission, him in and of itself. But a lot of empty seats. They did not sell it out for the opener. They announced 35,000, probably 3,000 or 4,000 less than that actually in the building. And then yesterday when you and I were there, they announced, 17 or 18,000.
Sparse turnout. And I can't wait to see the turnout tonight for the game against Seattle. I have a feeling that everybody's going to get a foul ball. I think it's going to be a smallish crowd.
Yeah, well, entirely possible on a on an April night, on a weeknight. That's why they start the games a little earlier now. That's part of the reason.
But I don't think you can blame the weather on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, though. I mean,
No.
You were talking mid-50s. I think it got close to 60 yesterday. It was comfortable, I think, for spring in Minnesota, especially coming off this frigid winter that would never go away. That was a pretty good weekend. So opportunity to go to the ballpark. But again, there's a lot of stuff going on in this town.
Yeah, well, there is. And the Timberwolves are going to be busy on Tuesday night as well. So the Twins will be playing the Dodgers if the rain holds off.
Oh, boy.
And the Timberwolves have a game against the Clippers. So it's playoff time for your Minnesota Timberwolves, and or play-in time, maybe I should say, right? Because they have to win this game in order to get into the playoffs. And if they lose, then they have to go to Thursday and play either San Antonio or the Pelicans of New Orleans. I like their chances to get in. I'm not so sure I like their chances against the Clippers, though.
Well, the Clippers are getting Paul George back, and he's a superstar, a 7-time All-Star. So they are much better with George than without him. I think he missed 43 games. So this is don't be fooled by the Clippers' subpar record. They're going to be a tough out for the T-Wolves. I think this game will have a lot of emotion because you've got Pat Bev, who played for the L.A. Clippers and brings so much energy and intensity to the floor. You know he wants to beat his old team. And you want to win that game so you can go right into the playoffs and not have to play 2 days later, and who knows what could happen. So it'll be interesting. I was at the arena last night, Sunday night, and they took on Chicago. It was meaningless for both teams.
Wait a minute. So you were at the basketball game, you were at the baseball game, and I know you left the baseball game early to go to the Wild game.
I pulled off the trifecta. MLB, Mariners, Twins. Yeah, I left in about the 6th inning. I'd seen enough. I saw 9 runs.
You did.
I saw
That's
plenty in 3 hours of baseball. And then I went across I-94 to the X in St. Paul. Saw my L.A. Kings crater against the Minnesota Wild. They were up 3-0. I felt good. And then the Wild came back. Good comeback for the Wild. I'll give them credit. And then I came back across the Mississippi for Bulls T-Wolves Sunday night. And so in a given day, I saw Byron Buxton go yard twice. Correa hit a home run. Sanchez a grand slam. I saw Kirill Kaprizov get a goal. And I saw Ant score points for the T-Wolves. It's a lot of sports.
You're not married, are you?
No, single, but still looking, but that probably doesn't help the cause, does it?
No, it doesn't, man. You wouldn't be on a day like that.
I know. I tried to coax you into going to more than one event yesterday, but you weren't buying it.
No, especially the Wolves. I knew a meaningless game. And you watched a G League game there Sunday night.
It was a G League game, but I am proud I pulled off the personal sports trifecta. But I will say this, a lot of energy for Chicago, Minnesota. Game had no bearing on the playoffs. A lot of Bulls fans here in the market. But look, I think it's a precursor of what we're going to see Tuesday night for Clippers T-Wolves. A lot of vibe in the building.
And I think that they're going to have to – I'm a little worried about Patrick Beverley. This is against his former team. He's already a juiced-up guy anyway, man. He fires his team up. He's been great defensively. He means a lot to them. But I think that he is going to have to keep himself in check against his former team and not go too overboard, because that could be detrimental to the cause, because we saw how Karl Anthony Towns reacts a lot of times to what Patrick Beverley does. So hopefully he'll be able to rein himself in a little bit.
It's a fine line. You want to be emotional and bring a passion to the floor, but you don't want to be too hyped up where you can't play your game, and maybe you do something silly and you get ejected.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got more to come.
Yeah,
huh?
we're going to talk to Seattle Mariners broadcaster Dave Sims. All that and more coming up here on 10K Takes, your NBA play-in ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Wally and Eric, 10,000 takes, and we're going to talk some more baseball now with longtime Seattle Mariners broadcaster Dave Sims. Dave, You watched the Mariners and the Twins over the weekend. What were your first impressions of the Minnesota Twins through the first few games that you've seen so far this year?
If you keep Buxton healthy, that's going to be a big part of it right there. I think that's he's such a good player. He can be a top 5, top 10 player in all the game if he can just stay healthy. I was talking to Rocco and Derek Falvey. I said, you got to keep 25. Tell him not to run into the walls. They're not very friendly. I'm curious to see what the pitching looks like. Certainly yesterday, the Sunday game, pitching staff gave up 6 home runs. So it's early. This is my first visit here because of everything that's happened in the country in the world the last few years. The first time I've been here in 3 years. So it's a good looking team. I think you still gotta beat out the White Sox, and that's our next stop. I'm curious to see what that. I know on paper they're loaded.
Dave, you've been following baseball for decades. Byron Buxton in center field, the way he covers ground like a tarp. Does he remind you of Willie Mays or Gary Maddox, one of your old Philadelphia guys? I mean, he gets to every ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean it's the old line that was used about Mays. The only guy that could catch it, hit it. I mean, it's one of he's triples go to die. I mean, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there were a few balls hit. Julio Rodriguez squared one up, and it was a slicing drive right center field. I was like, yeah, I got this. Boom. Now he's special. You could put him in the category in terms of defense, and hopefully his offense is going to really blossom this year. But when you look at great center fielders, you're talking Mays, you're talking Griffey, Gary Maddox, Devon White, Guess could cover it in center field. Those are just some of the guys that come to my mind right now. Mike Cameron. I mean, that's elite company, and that's a heck of an asset to build around. Have the one of the super key positions defensively on your ball club.
For the last several years, you've seen Carlos Correa play. What do you think he does for the Minnesota Twins?
Well, yeah, that relay play he made yesterday pretty much said it all. I thought that was terrific. He's got a cannon for an arm. He won the Platinum Glove, speaks for itself. We've seen him come up with big hits. He had big hits in the playoffs. He's got a World Series ring. He's a dynamic. He's a super elite player. For your sake, I hope he stays for the entire run of his contract and doesn't take it. Exercise his opt out either year 1 or 2. But he's elite, and he's a guy that. This was a great free agent year for shortstops. He and Seager and Story and Baez. And you guys are quite lucky and fortunate to get him because, to be honest with you, I thought he was going to go to I thought for sure. I wouldn't say I'm a diehard Yankee fan, but like in the old days when the old man was there, if George Steinbrenner was there, with a pretty good chance he would have been there like before Thanksgiving. So,
Boy, that's for sure.
Things worked out for you. Things worked out real well for you.
Dave, you have a good-looking club in Seattle, 90 wins a year ago. I know you haven't been in the playoffs since 2001. I think that's the longest drought in North American professional sports.
It's the longest drought in North American sports.
Have you ever heard that before?
Boom!
You got to get that thing taken care of. Look, if the Minnesota Timberwolves can get in the playoffs, the Seattle Mariners can too. I like your chances.
Yeah, there's no specialist to go to. They got to win some games. That's where it is, and I think the team is built to get to the playoffs. Winker and Suarez added to the club. You hope that Kelnick picks up where he left off in September. Julio Rodriguez looks like he has a chance to be a really good player. I don't want to go dynamic and elite yet, but he has that type of skills. When you let him get his feet wet, and the starting pitching, Marco Gonzalez had a bad day yesterday, but Robbie Ray, you saw how good he is, and Chris Flexen, he's going on Monday, going today. He was really good, 14-6 career year, and then we get this Matt Brash kid, right-hander who throws the heck out of the ball. He's a rookie. So, and then our bullpen was lights out last year. So, and if we can improve on the 226 batting average, which was dead last in the majors, and continue to come up with clutch hits, like they did last year from like the 6th inning on, the batting average was up. They hit really well runners in scoring position, and we went one-run games and extra inning games. They got 90 wins, which was one of the great surprises, one of the great achievements in recent memory.
I'm glad you mentioned the word surprise, Dave, because we had you on the radio about a year ago, and you said that this team is built for, and we're talking about the Mariners now, maybe 2023, maybe even 2024. Last year, they win 90-plus games, as you already mentioned. Yeah, a surprise, but now they got to build on it, don't they?
Oh, heck yeah. That's the whole intention. That's a mindset. I mean, it's a great mindset with this club. And I think even Jerry DiPoto, the president of baseball operations, he basically said, it's on right now. Let's do it right now. And that's, and adding not only, I mentioned Suarez and Winker, but Adam Frazier's solid. And he is a good second baseman, good hitter. He's going to spray the ball all over the yard. I think that is a wonderful addition. He and J.P. Crawford will be a very good combo turning twos. But, yeah, I would say, hey, let's do it this year, especially given the new playoff format, missed by a game last year. And, and I'm looking forward to Houston coming to town, our home opening series on Friday, and take on my man Dusty Baker and the Astros. That's the team to beat in the division. And let's see how we fare against them.
Dave, you've had a storied broadcasting career. I used to listen to you on Sunday nights. Westwood won the NFL Game of the Week. What's the mood in the Emerald City? Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll have a divorce. Russell's now in Denver. Did you see that coming?
Well, I tell you, it was, I live in New York during the off season, but I'm always tracking Seattle radio and the newspapers and everything. And it's probably about time. It seemed like there were rumors. There was, back channel talk about a lot of that stuff. And you know what? The best part of it, it's over now. If the Seahawks are going to rebuild, bless their hearts, Russell can go to Denver and do what do his thing there. He was right a couple of years ago. He ran for his life more often than not. The offensive line wasn't that good. I only saw a few Seahawk games this year. But it's a new beginning, and sports is very cyclical, and I'm curious to see if they were to bring in a Kaepernick or something like that, or make a deal for maybe a more experienced quarterback. I don't know if Drew Lock is the answer, but there's a parting of the ways, and I think everybody can breathe a heck of a lot easier now, to be honest with you. And that's an outside perspective. I'm not in camp. I'm not out there at their practice facility. I haven't seen Pete in person in a couple of years, but that's just as an observation from afar.
One last observation for you before I let you go. You've been doing a show with Coach K now for the last several years. What were your thoughts as he wound down his career, and what are your thoughts about his career in general, having dealt with him for so long and known him for so long?
Well, I did the show for 17 years. I know Mike probably longer than that. I think we met when I was a newspaper writer at the New York Daily News, late 70s. I want to say met him probably in 77. He was in Army. And so we go way back a long time. And I've enjoyed doing the show, Basketball Beyond, where we've had basketball people, and we go beyond basketball, and we've had guys from other sports. We've had industry titans, CEOs. We had Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff Martin Dempsey a few years ago. So it's been a fun show. What do I think of his career? What more can I add? I mean, the guy's maybe the best of all time. He's got five rings. The numbers are just off the chart. He's influenced so many people. He's become a friend. He's been somebody that's helped me out on occasion. I like the guy. I can only imagine, first of all, the joy of accomplishing what he did. And I haven't talked to him yet. I'm gonna give him some space. I'm gonna give him a call soon. But losing that home finale to Carolina, that hurt. But losing to him in the Final Four when they had a chance, and because we were that was a Saturday night. I forget who we were playing, and I'm calling the game on TV. I got my iPad over here, and I'm watching the game. And when Mark Williams, the center, 1:45 left, down 4, missed 2 free throws. I had to turn it off. It was making me crazy.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the pain he must feel. Not only it's one thing to lose, for Duke, to lose in a Final Four, but to lose to Carolina and have them lord it over you from now on, that's going to be tough to take, and there's no bounce back here for him. But all in all, it's one of the great careers we've ever seen in American sports, and I'm proud to be associated with him. And as far as I know, from a conversation we had with Mike and Nikki, his wife, back in November at the Garden when they open up against Kentucky. The show's going to continue, so that works for me.
Oh, great.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, Dave, appreciate you spending some time with us. Great 411 on Coach K and the Mariners and the Twins. And, good luck. We'll talk to you again down the road, I am sure.
You bet, fellas. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. He is
You're
Dave
welcome.
Sims, longtime broadcaster for the Seattle Mariners, right here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10K Takes, Wally and Eric. We head to the ice now, and you were at the XL Energy Center for the Minnesota Wild against the Kings on Sunday. So with that win, they won 6-3. They were down 3-0. I know you were texting me after every goal. Mr. LA Kings
I
here.
celebrated way too
Oh,
early.
yeah. Yes.
Oh, well, it was. The Kings jumped on the Wild from the get-go. LA scored a shorty, like in the first minute, because the Wild had a power play, and then it's 2-0, then it's 3-0, and Marc-Andre Fleury was struggling. After one of the goals, he banged his stick.
What was after the last goal?
Yeah, the third goal.
Yeah.
Into the post, and you could tell that he was frustrated. But it was early enough where if the Wild could regroup and compose themselves, there was plenty of hockey left, and that's just what they did. They got a couple of quick goals, and you could just feel that momentum swing to the Minnesota side. And so give the Wild credit. Fleury settled down. I thought he played pretty good. Really, the LA Kings were coming at him, and the Kings are a physical team, which is what the Wild is going to see against either St. Louis or Nashville, or as I call them, Smashville, because these guys come at you. That's playoff hockey. So I thought the Wild acquitted themselves after a tough overtime loss to St. Louis on Friday.
And St. Louis is, of course, who they are battling for that second position in the division, and they are now tied. Technically, they're ahead of them. They have tiebreak on St. Louis, but technically they are ahead of them going into Tuesday night's tilt. The loss, though, the loss to St. Louis the other day, that brought them back into a tie. So I think that this thing is going to go right down to the wire, whether they're going to be second or third, and that determines home ice in that first round. So that's a big deal.
And the Wild are playing teams that are also in the same boat that need to win. LA is trying to get into the playoffs. So that was a good test yesterday. And now comes Edmonton Tuesday night. Connor McDavid, you talk about perhaps the face of the NHL, one of the young guns. The Oilers are going to want to win this game, so this will be another tough test for the Minnesota Wild.
Wait a minute. So the Dodgers and the Twins,
Yeah.
the Timberwolves and the Clippers, and the Wild and Edmonton all going on at the same time.
I was thinking about another trifecta, but I don't think it's physically possible because the Oilers and Wild will start almost the same time as Twins Dodgers, and then you have the later start for Clippers Timberwolves. It would be, you could do it, but you wouldn't see much of either game.
I think you'd miss quite a bit.
Although a helicopter would be the way to go.
There you go. You could try that. All right. Speaking of helicopters, I think that the the Minnesota State Mankato Mavericks probably wanted a helicopter out of Boston as soon as possible after blowing that the national championship game. They were up 1-0 going into the third period against Denver, and then it just all came apart. They ended up losing 5-1. But Denver, I think people forget about how good Denver's program has been over the years. They have now won 9 national championships, so they're now tied with who? Michigan?
Michigan. Yeah, so when you're talking about college hockey pedigree, it's Michigan and Denver. It's not the Minnesota Gophers. It's not Boston College. It's the Pioneers and the Wolverines, and Denver knocked out Michigan in that semifinal game in Boston. So kudos to Denver. I know there have been Minnesota athletes that have gone out there and had success in the past. And look, and he beat Dryden McKay, who won the Hobie Baker Award, the outstanding goalie for Minnesota State. And, if you're Minnesota State, you're on the cusp of your first ever title, right? You got McKay in the nets. You're up 1-0 going into the third. You probably think, well, we can do this. But they didn't.
Yeah, and we had St. Cloud State in there last year, and they didn't do it. It's just a Minnesota thing.
By the way, you and I made a bet. How many Minnesota teams were in the tournament? It was what?
Lots.
Tons, right?
Yeah. You had UMD, St. Cloud, Minnesota, and Minnesota State Mankato. So you had 4.
4 of the 8, and we made a bet earlier on the radio. You took Minnesota. You said one of the Minnesota teams would deliver. I said, I'll take the field.
You win. And
Barely, but it did happen.
And once again, the state of Minnesota is without a championship.
Oh, boy. Can you say Hubert Humphrey, Walter Mondale, Minnesota Vikings?
We'll be back with takes of the day after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care.
10K Takes Television. Final segment of this week's show. Wally and Eric with you. Takes of the day. We're going to find out what your mood is today. Grumpy Guardian, Angry American. What is it?
Well, as you know, the Minnesota Timberwolves will play the most important basketball game that they have played since 2018, I would say, when they made the playoffs the last time. That was the Jimmy Butler-led crowd that managed to get in on the last day of the regular season with a win over Denver, and then they went into the postseason, played the Rockets, won 1 game, and got knocked out of the playoffs in 4. Well, now they have the LA Clippers in town. Now, this is not just a play-in opportunity. This is an opportunity to put kind of a cherry on top of this season, which has been overall a successful season. This has been their best regular season in years. I mean, really, we haven't had much to cheer about for the Timberwolves since 2018, but you go all the way back to 2004 before that. This is an opportunity to say, yeah, not only did we make it, but we belong here. This is where we belong. So I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Not only do they need to beat the Clippers, they need to go on and win a few games in that first round series against whoever it is that they end up playing. But I'd say, yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves are in, and they have to win to prove that this was the real deal this year.
Wow, and the mood meter says demanding diva.
Demanding diva.
You want results
Yes, I do.
out of these Timberwolves. You want instant gratification after waiting for decades.
Yes. I think that's a fair statement.
That's an oxymoron there. Yeah, we'll see if they can deliver against Paul George and the Clippers. All right, well, my take of the day, I'm going to touch on the tragedy surrounding Dwayne Haskins. Just a horrible thing that happened over the weekend as he was struck by a dump truck on an interstate down in Florida, and he died. And here's a guy who had a wonderful career at Ohio State. He was a number 1 draft pick of Washington. And the first thing some people touched on, keep in mind, this is a human being, right? This is a husband, a father, a son. And the first thing some people, specifically Gil Brandt and even Adam Schefter of ESPN, wanted to get into was, well, he didn't do that well in Washington. And I'm like, wow. It was so insensitive. And in the case of Gil Brandt, who's on Sirius satellite radio, he's 90. I mean, this was a case of insensitivity, senility, and they try to walk it back, and, well, I didn't mean it, and I apologize, and this and that. I mean, this should never happen. Whatever happened to people just having, being sensitive to a moment in time that was just crushing to the Haskins family?
Well, yeah, and Adam Schefter, I mean, he points out that he struggled in Washington. How about all the record touchdown passes he threw for Ohio State during his time there?
50.
Yeah.
And he beat out Joe Burrow at Ohio State.
There's just no excuse. There really isn't. Sad.
All right, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to the great crew here at the TV studio. Also, Rocky and Dave Sims. For Wally, I'm Eric saying this is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.